in the virtual world, and this is the first of many of these sessions that Sandy is going to host for us. So I'm so excited to have Sandy Sloan with us. And I know many of you have already met Sandy, but for those of you that somehow missed her introduction, Sandy is an outstanding events, learning, and development professional who leads incredibly interactive events that involve humor, and she's done so with a number of large organizations. And so excited to have her be joining us for a period of time. She is passionate about teaching people and leaders about how to help teams grow and create positive work environments, and believes her secret superpower is her hands-on techniques of using humor and role-playing and other sort of features. So we've really thought a lot about how do we make our team more teamy and how to make our work environments, now that we are virtual, more successful. So I couldn't be more excited to have Sandy be with us as on our team, and then for this particular event. So Sandy, can't wait to see what we learn from this, and I'll turn it over to you. So thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Hi, everybody. I've met a lot of you already. I'm really excited to be part of the population health team. And we have a lot of fun things to learn together. One of the things that we're going to talk about today is the evolution of being successful in the virtual work world, is what we're calling this, and we'll go over that. A big part of being successful in the virtual work world is connection. We have all been used to being in person for a very, very long time, and this is sort of the new normal now. And we need to find ways to connect with one another and to continue that camaraderie that we have when we are not able to be physically next to one another. So one of the things that I like to do, many of you refer to these as icebreakers. When I think of a break, I think of something really sort of violent and angry and forceful. I call them ice melters. And this ice melter that was in the chat, some of you saw, and some of you saw it up on the Microsoft Word that was on the screen. I stopped sharing that. But I had asked you about your favorite things for fall. Why did I do this? I asked you what your favorite thing about fall was, and also about your favorite warm-up beverage. The reason I did it is because we are all much more similar than different. And this allows us to build those connections and trust with one another as we get to know each other, because it feels very artificial now. It feels very strange when we are not physically together in the same room the way we used to be. But guys, you got to get used to it, because even with population health, you all are going to come back one day a week. Some are coming back more, but the ask is one day for every week. And we need to make sure that we have continued opportunities for getting to know one another. It's a very, very important thing. So I want to scroll through here and just comment on some of these different responses, which are just great. Somebody said, London Fog, Eden said, London Fog from Starbucks. And she said early gray, but then somebody said, no, it's Earl Grey with misted milk, which sounds absolutely delicious for her warm-up beverage. Then we have pistachio latte with oat milk, football. Keith says he loves football, and artists, open studios, and cider donuts. That's one of my favorites also, because it really just says fall. It probably is still delicious in the summertime, but in the fall, we know we really, really love it. So people have a lot of things that make them happy. And by doing this ice melter at the beginning and connecting during your meetings, you have that opportunity to just set the tone in a positive way. This is an easy one. You can use chat for it, and then you can use any number of ice melters in your team meetings. It's not a hard thing to do. It's an important thing to do. And again, it sets the tone. So I'm going to now share my screen. Let's hope technology, guys, is not my strong suit, but I am going to try. And let's share my screen. Hold on, here it is, share screen. And let's do my PowerPoint. Can everybody see this? Yes, good. Okay. So let's go to the slideshow. Okay, so little bit, Lindsay had given a little bit of information about me. Sorry. And that's just my company on the bottom, Solutions by Sloan. I do a little bit of everything, but what I am calling your attention to, those of you who have already met me know this to be true, is my slogan, which is if someone doesn't have a smile, give them one of yours. And that just puts everybody in a very positive frame of mind, and it just makes things a lot of fun. So on here, we have the picture that we're all familiar with of all of these people on Zoom, on Teams. And this is just what it is to being in the work world. We want to connect before we share content, and that also helps us be successful in the work world. Here's some of the things that we're going to cover today. I'm going to go over some statistics and some generalities about the new workplace. And again, we all are going to be living in this new workplace on an ongoing basis, even with the pandemic slowing down and with remote work and working from home changing. We're all still going to be doing it. That is just the new reality. I'm going to go over some statistics with you. We are going to talk about Zoom fatigue, that it's definitely true. We're going to have a little break, a fun break, get prepared for that. Talk about online etiquette and the whole great debate of cameras on or off. And then we're going to do a quick hands-on activity. And we'll have some time for Q&A. Please, if you have any Q&A that you want to do as I'm going, hold on. As I am talking, please feel free to put it in the chat, and Nikita can ping me because I am going to be focused on what we're talking about. And I do have notes here, so that is why I'm going to be looking down. I wanted to make sure I got everything correct. So the new workplace. These work statistics really show that, as I said, remote work is here to stay. It's going to be continuing on this upward trend. And as of today, I thought this was very interesting. 67% of organizations increased their spending on web conferencing software, meaning that they know that their people need to be in tip-top shape when they are connecting online. So they are spending the money. Also, 1/4 of respondent companies are going to move 10% of their employees to permanent remote positions after COVID is all done, if that ever happens. And 73% of teams will have remote workers by 2028. Before, we were all focused, and companies and organizations were focused on, can this work? Can we get this done? Now, we didn't have a choice. So we pushed into it. Zoom is now worth over $1 trillion. If you were smart enough to buy stock in Zoom, you're doing really well. But it's the reality. We have to find ways of connecting in this new workplace. And even though we do have this new workplace, that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with its share of challenges. Here are some stats for remote workers. 70% of full-time workers are working from home. That's a lot. And you all are part of that. People are using video meetings 50% more than they did before COVID. And 99% of remote workers would like to continue doing so, even if companies are going back completely. I think that's really interesting. So how do we make sure that we give people the feeling of inclusiveness when they are working from home and not connecting in real life? Well, with all of these meetings, we have all experienced Zoom fatigue. It is not just a made up thing, it is an actual thing. And this professor, Jeremy Bailenson, who is at Stanford, he did a study on Zoom fatigue. And he found, interestingly enough, I know for me, excessive amounts of close-up eye contact is very, very intense. I am feeling very close to people, and I would not be that close to people in real life. I would have some distance, and there is a solution to that. But even when I am connecting with people one-on-one in real life, there is a boundary. We don't have that boundary now on the screen. I also had LASIK surgery years ago. I see 20/20, except when I am online on all of these meetings. I'm wearing my glasses. I've met so many of you, and generally speaking, I'm like this. But my eyes are so tired all the time, so it is real. And it is the excessive amount of being on these meetings that is making our eyes tired. Another thing is, it's really stressful to see ourselves during the video chats constantly. Just imagine if somebody were following you around with a mirror. Every time you're doing anything, whether you're cooking dinner or you are going to the supermarket, and you're constantly, oh my God, my hair, my teeth, my nose, how do I look? It's very, very stressful. It creates this Zoom fatigue. So even if you are thinking that you don't have it, you might want to sometimes take yourself off of the video chat, and we'll talk about that too. Also, when we are in a live meeting, we can walk around, we can doodle, we can get up, go over to the coffee pot, get some coffee. Now we are all focused on being on screen, and we want people to be able to see us. So our ability to move around, our usual mobility is significantly decreased. And it doesn't make us feel mobile and fluid. I know I like to walk around. I need to stretch. So do you. So we'll talk about that also. And they say the cognitive load is much higher in video chats. What that means is that during the in-person interactions, nonverbal communication and body language is much easier to determine. You can see when you're talking to someone, the normal way of conversation is somebody's nodding their head or smiling or giving you a thumbs up, something. You're getting feedback. You have no idea, even if you're seeing people's faces, because maybe they're looking down and writing. Maybe their camera is off and you're not getting any visual cues. So it's much harder, and we end up using a lot more of our brain power to figure out, did they get that? When people are on mute and we can't hear a reaction, sometimes I'm pretty funny, but my jokes all fall completely flat on Zoom because everyone's mics are off. So I don't know what their response is. And that's tough. That's very stressful. So again, Zoom fatigue is real. Some of the solutions to this, faces are so huge on Zoom. You can reduce the size of the windows that you're looking at so that people's faces get smaller. And that makes it feel more like a physical interaction rather than being up close like this. You don't want to see me that close. Maybe you do, but I doubt it. As I said, also hide the self view. Easy to do. If those of you who have not done it, you just right click on your own photo and you will make sure that your face is after you make sure that your face is framed properly so everyone can see you. And it looks like Amy raised her hand. Amy, do you have a question?
I do. Sandy, does that feature exist in Teams?
It does.
It does. Oh, that would be great.
It does. It exists in every video platform, Amy. It's really important. And Teams also, which is for another day, but I just found when I was doing some research, because I am not familiar with Teams, there are a whole bunch of different features on Teams. I don't know if they're blocked as part of MGB, but one of the features is called the Together mode. And I don't know if it exists for you guys, but it allows all of you to feel like you are in a conference room sitting next to each other rather than on this screen. So that's something to explore in your own Teams if you're allowed to use it, because it seemed pretty cool to me. And Amy, I can help you figure out on the teams of where the hide the self view is if you can't find it. But I did do the research. It exists on every single platform.
Okay.
So if you're going to use that, just make sure that your face is framed so that people can see you. You just can't see yourself and feel like, oh my God, my hair looks terrible today. That kind of thing, because that's really distracting to you and to others. Okay, think about your Zoom room, meaning where you are physically. Right now, I have my my virtual background up with my logo from my company, but make sure that if you are not using that, that either you blur it, allow yourself to move about once you know what your background is, but still stay in the frame. So you can join a meeting without joining the meeting. What that means is you can log on to Zoom on your own and you can see the way you look before you are in the meeting. I don't know if Teams has that feature, but I assume it does, that you can check yourself out first to make sure you look good, you feel good, you're comfortable where you're sitting or standing, and then you can join the meeting. So it's a video preview is what it's called on Zoom. Turn the video off periodically. Give yourself a little break. This really helps. It helps your eyes and it helps you to refocus. And if you have to go out of the room to either use the bathroom or get a cup of coffee or get some water, you don't need everybody seeing that, especially in the bathroom. You don't need people seeing that. That is a big deal, but take a break to move around. So with that in mind, I am going to stop my share of this right this second. And I am going to do our break. And the break that we're going to do, because I think it's really important to move around, I want everybody to stand up. Try to still be in your picture. You may have to move back a little. And we are going to dance. So if you are not comfortable having your camera on for this dance, you do not have to. But if you are comfortable, it'll give your teammates a reason to smile. Happy. Okay, so that was just a little respite, and it gets your mind going again. I knocked my chair out of range. Hold on.
And we're going to have to do that for our on-site Tuesdays. That takes some real courage, dancing in person together.
It's fun. It's right. It's fun. It breaks up the monotony and it gets you physically up. Just like when you wake up in the morning and you need to stretch, it's the same thing. So, and I got to see these chats. People are, Eden, your dog stole the show. I didn't see that. Love your dancing partner, Eden. Go, Michael. Oh, and Michael said he just did hide the self view and it worked. And you can access by right-clicking the box. And that's on Zoom. I know that to be true. But that was fun, right? Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So you guys can do this. You should build something like that in, even if it's just a stretch in a meeting. Okay, Okay. All right, so we did that. We did that little break. Okay. And that was the brain break. So online etiquette. You should try to be early, test out your tech beforehand. I'm going to show you an example that most of you have seen. I'll show you that in a minute, but test it out first and make sure that you are in the right room. Last week, I was supposed to be on a meeting with Lindsay and Deb. The meeting had gotten rescheduled. There was a new room. I was in the wrong room. Lindsay, I thought, okay, everybody else is late. This is bizarre. But then Lindsay pinged me and said, are you in the right room? And I was not. So make sure that you are in the right room, because it's really very respectful of people's time when you are in the right room and your tech is working properly. Check it out. Read the room. If people have their cameras on, put your camera on. You don't want to be the only one with the camera off unless you have a really good reason. Use the mute feature when you're not speaking and unmute when you are. Just get used to that. This is a really important one, to turn off or silence your notifications. Outlook is notorious for having that bing, bing. You don't want that going on. But also, you don't want your personal notifications going on. I was in a meeting with a former client, and it was a Zoom meeting, and somebody had notifications on, and they got the reminder about a surprise party for somebody else on that call. It was tough because everybody saw it. But if she had muted or silenced the notifications, it would not have ruined the surprise. But it was an unfortunate situation. It's an easy toggle off. So just turn it off or quit the applications. When you have somebody speaking, just like when you're live in a room, give them that visual feedback. If you agree with them, I can't see any of you right now because this is in full screen, but usually when I am speaking, I can see the rest of the group. And it's really important to me as a speaker for people to say, yeah, or haha, or smile, something. So continue giving them that visual feedback. If you can have a clean and calm background, get it done. You have the blur feature, use it. If your room is a big mess, it's really okay. Everybody is okay seeing that. But if you blur it, it is less distracting. And if you can get one of these virtual backgrounds, there are so many on Canva that are free. Zoom has some that are free. As long as your computer can handle the bandwidth that's required for these backgrounds, go ahead and use it. Get dressed, okay? Not just from the waist up, get dressed. Because what happens if your kid or your animal comes in the room or the doorbell rings and you have to get up and you don't have bottoms on? It's really embarrassing, not only for you, but for everybody watching. So even if you're wearing sweatpants or a jogging suit, just be dressed. Make lens contact. I did not realize this, and this is a very big deal. Right now, hopefully, it seems as if I am making good eye contact with you, and that's because I am looking into the camera lens. I am not looking into the eyes of anyone. It seems when you are looking into the eyes of someone, you're actually looking down. Look into the camera lens. When people are talking, don't interrupt them. Try to let them finish. Take a beat. It's okay for there to be a few seconds of silence if people are talking. And you also will know that people are about to talk when they unmute. Don't check yourself out too much. We said we are going to turn off the self view. Use good judgment when you're eating. You guys are the most meatinest place I have ever been involved with. So I know that there are a lot of meetings during the lunch hour. So sometimes you have to eat, sometimes it can't be avoided, but use good judgment. If you're going to be eating chips or anything crunchy, mute yourself. If you're going to be drinking coffee in a meeting and you're a slurper the way I am, turn off the sound. And if you don't want anybody to see you eating, which I certainly understand, for that time you can turn off the camera. Just use good judgment. Most importantly, don't assume you're off camera. Good rule of thumb for that is when you are done with a meeting, do this. Okay, I just closed the little thing on my camera. I have one of those things, I got it at Five Below, it was $1, and it covers the camera. I am in the habit of every time I get out of a meeting, the first thing I do is I push that over so nobody can see me, because I don't want people to see me if I'm out of the meeting. So everybody has seen this, or probably most of you, but this is where I talk about making sure that your technology works. If you haven't seen this, it's hysterically funny, but I'm going to show it to you all. This is when the famous attorney inadvertently turned himself into a cat.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
We're
a look.
trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next to this.
Okay, so I think that is the funniest thing. This is another example of somebody not turning their camera off. And some of you may have seen this, but I think this is absolutely hysterical.
Goodbye. All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
You guys.
Tony!
Can you hear us?
Tony!
Oh no. Don't. Jen, call him. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm gonna text a couple pictures of that. Oh. Oh. Oh boy.
What's up?
Tony, I can see you.
We can all see you. Goodbye. All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
You guys. Goodbye.
Okay, so I thought those are great examples of people not turning their camera off or not being prepared with their technology. What you don't want to become is a meme, and you don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons, certainly. So cameras on or off. We have to all adjust our expectations. Years ago, if you were on a video call or you saw the bloopers, and I will show you the famous one momentarily, but you would see people screwing up and things would happen in the background, and we were so embarrassed for the people. We thought they were funny, but we were really embarrassed for the people. That's not the way it is anymore. We are now sort of in a judgment-free zone. We want people to be okay with where they are taking the meetings from. So now it's become so lovely to even have people's kids and toddlers pop in for cameos, as we call them. And their animals. This is a great example of a Zoom meeting where everybody it was instead of bring your child to work, it was bring your pet to work day. And I love this. And I think it's so happy. And everybody gets to know you a little better and know what your out of work environment is and what your personality is. So, you know, we were all really embarrassed for that newscaster, which I'm going to show you this now. But today it would have been okay. Let me show you this clip.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me. My apologies.
The region.
My apologies. North Korea, South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year. Scandals happen all the time.
So today, if something like that happened, everybody would be okay with it because we are used to mishaps happening from our homes. That's just what happens. We're going to go back to the cameras on versus cameras off. Here are some good rules to follow. Keep your camera on if you're leading the meeting or you're the one presenting. Obviously, you want your camera on because you want everybody to see you. You also should keep your camera on to demonstrate that you're paying attention. It may be a really serious topic, and somebody may want to make sure that you are ending up getting information from what they are saying. Lindsay, you have a question?
Do Sandy, I've been thinking a lot about this cameras on, camera off thing. You know, you and I have talked about the fact that we just have too many meetings at MGB, and PHM team, we're going to be working on that in the new year. But one thing is that we have more meetings, I think that is more meetings than I think on average for a company. We tend to be a meeting heavy culture, but we also are cameras on. And I have friends and colleagues that work for companies that have started switching to more cameras off to reduce Zoom fatigue. But of course that takes away from feeling connected. So I was curious, it right now feels like it's just socially inappropriate, MGB, to have your camera off, but gosh, I feel like I'm just in front of my camera then all the time without any ability to get up and walk away from my computer. So I was curious what your thoughts are about balancing sort of social norms and being present versus getting a little bit of a break from the camera.
Absolutely. And the next slide will also show when you should have the cameras off. But as long as there are norms that are set up by the organization, which is, it's appropriate to have cameras on, it's appropriate to have cameras off. And I will go, there's another slide about what leaders should do to set those expectations, because people tend to be a little confused about what is appropriate and what is acceptable. Obviously, if you're meeting people for the first time, if you were meeting them in person, you would see their face. And when we are on these meetings and we're meeting people for the first time, you want them to see your face because that is how people connect. And I don't know if this is so much the sense in population health, but I have worked with companies where English was not everybody's first language. And it's very, very hard for them to understand what you are saying if they do not see your face and get those visual clues. So there is a good separation between on and off. And it's, again, it's really dependent on the culture. And you guys do have a lot of meetings. Keep the camera on to make sure that your room is distraction free. If reactions are important feedback for the presenter, when I am not doing a slide presentation, when I am just speaking, I really like to see people giving me feedback. So if their cameras are off, it's hard for me. But if everyone else is on camera, don't be the odd man out. But similarly, okay, keep your cameras off if you're not really gonna talk too much. If it's not important for you to talk too much, if you're there just to listen and learn. You could keep your cameras off now if you choose to, because I am on a slideshow and I am not seeing you. I have it in full screen. If you already have a good rapport with other participants, and Lindsay, that might be what your friend said, because they have so many of these meetings, they know and trust you. They know that you're listening. You already have that rapport established. You can turn it off. If there's a lot going on in the room that you're in, kids, family members, other people working from your shared workspace, keep the camera off, because then you will distract others. And to your point, Lindsay, if you simply need a break, it's okay. If you're the person running the meeting, I said this a minute ago, set the expectations in advance. Tell them, I expect every single one of you to have your cameras on, or cameras on optional. It's up to you, but if you don't tell people what the expectations are, they're not going to have any way of knowing. Lindsay, we talked about this on our last call. Build in 5 minutes before or after the meeting time to give people time to stretch or dance or grab a cup of coffee, use the bathroom. When meetings go from 1 to 1:30, 1:30 to 2, 2 to 2:30, there's no time for you to have downtime and recharge and refresh. It's really important. So when it's possible, do that. I already said to create the ground rules when cameras are on or off. You can use those slides that I just presented. I love starting the meetings with these mini ice melters. And it can even be a stretch. It can be, let's dance it out at the beginning. Start with a song, start with a joke, start with a piece of good news. Everybody can be involved, or not everybody can be involved. And you can make one person the official ice melter for that week. And it just makes meetings more fun, and it sets the tone. Try to always make everyone comfortable if those unexpected cameos happen, because I have been on meetings at the beginning of the pandemic where some people were taking calls from the closet so that their kids didn't interrupt. But the reality was they were working from home. We were all working from home. These interruptions happen. So try to have a judgment-free zone. And that's what I say here. The only way we can observe what's happening around us and see clearly is when we observe with no judgment. People are definitely trying their best, and this has been a very stressful time. But again, this is the new normal. So this is a great example of a situation where there was not any judgment. Some of you may have seen this. I laughed a lot seeing this video.
Why apologize for my cat's tail? Why are you not doing this by default? Rocco, could you tell them? Why?
Now, he's a member of the UK Parliament, and they all gave him a pass on that. So I really think that we should be able to give each other a pass when things are less than perfect, because it's just life, and we're all trying our best. We're going to do a hands-on activity now. Okay, let me go back to this gallery view. Okay. So I see many of you have your cameras on. Thank you. And for those who you don't, that's perfectly fine. I've met many of you as we have talked about the onboarding and good onboarding, not so good onboarding. And thank you for all of your time. But there are a couple of you that I think that since I have met you already, you might feel comfortable with me having you participate in this hands-on activity. I am going to, hold on, sorry. That's a mishap, judgment-free zone, my thing just fell down. Okay, Julia, where are you?
Hello.
Hi. So Julia and I have spoken, and I told her I thought she was absolutely adorable. And so calling on you. What I want you to do is I want you to listen to a little story I'm going to tell you with your camera off and on mute. Okay? So it's going to be very short, but turn your camera off and be on mute, and then we're going to talk about how that felt for you. I know you can still hear me. Okay, so I had a situation a couple of days ago. I was driving from upstate New York to relocate here in Atlanta, and there were torrential downpours, hurricane force winds, hurricane force rain. I was petrified. I was so scared, and I was white knuckling everything the whole time. Do you know what I mean? Oh, wait, you're not on camera. You're not on camera, so I'm not getting any visual feedback. I'm not getting any cues. Julia, turn your camera on and turn your mic on. You probably were experiencing what I was saying, and you probably were doing what you're doing right now. You're like, yeah, wow, how was that? But I didn't get any feedback from you. So how was that for you? Because you really were not able to give me feedback. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, that wasn't fun. I was kind of like making facial expressions at the screen, and I couldn't. I mean, I always have my own personal camera on too, so I always see myself as well. So I was confused.
And
It's tough.
It is tough, because when we are talking to each other live, we're seeing, oh my God, what happened? And we were not in an accident, by the way, but we were almost in an accident, because I was going 17 miles an hour because my daughter was like, Mom, you can go faster than 17 miles an hour, but I couldn't. I was so nervous. So she ended up driving the rest of the way, FYI. But that's what happens when the camera's off and when you're not giving feedback. Now I would like, who am I going to ask? I am going to ask Luce. Okay, Luce, tell us, I'm going to turn my camera off. Tell me, after I turn my camera off, what you made for dinner last night or what you brought in for dinner. And was it good? Was it not so good? And hold on, let me turn my camera off.
I was fortunate enough not to have to cook last night. My husband made chicken nuggets, which is something the kids love, and I had some of those. And he also made mac and cheese. So it was sort of a kid's dinner.
Okay, so I'm listening to you and I'm wanting to say, yeah, I love mac and cheese. And I would have asked you, what was his recipe for mac and cheese? Did he make Kraft macaroni and cheese? Did he make it from scratch? What kind of cheese did he use? But if we don't have that camera on, sometimes we cannot get the interaction. And that's what I want to share with you guys. When we're trying to connect with each other, it's much more difficult if we're not seeing each other's faces. So that was just a quick little hands-on activity to demonstrate. So Luce, was it weird for you talking to me without seeing my face?
Yes, it was. Although it was weird to be talking about dinner at all.
I was just trying to make very generic, general topics that everybody can relate to. Mm-hmm. So yep. That's pretty much all I have, guys. We have some time for Q&A if anybody has anything, but I hope you found this helpful and that you understand that Zoom fatigue is real, that you do have the option of dancing it out or stretching. You can turn your camera off. Use your best judgment, know that there are going to be mishaps, and just give people a judgment-free zone. We are coworkers, and some of us are strangers, but every stranger, every friend that we have was once a stranger that we didn't know. So keep that in mind and be kind. And if someone doesn't have a smile, give them one of yours.
Sandy, thank you. That was awesome. I'm excited to see how much dancing happens now as a result of today's meeting. So if any of you do try out the dancing moves, please let me know. I'll be curious to hear how it goes. That would be awesome if that spreads. I also think that the ice melters is a really good suggestion. So wonderful tips. I don't have any cats or dogs, so I wish, but I look forward to seeing hopefully more pets in our Zooms. But Sandy, this was spectacular. So thank you.
Thank you.
So very much. Looking forward to more of these. If anyone from the group has any, questions, I think we have a couple minutes. If anyone wants to make any comments or ask any questions to Sandy, can open it up.
I just want to say I'm going to be maybe practicing my dance moves in the mirror now, so I don't embarrass myself again.
But it's fun. It just makes all of us, it just humanizes all of us. And if anybody, since this is what I do the team building, I do the ice melters, the connection before content for companies all over. If anybody wants these for your teams, just connect with me. I am happy to share hundreds of these easy things to do. Because if you can't think of something, trust me, I have done it. Not always perfectly, but I've done it.
Sandy, I have a question. Some of our meetings are with external organizations. So can you give folks some advice about setting norms with external organizations, with folks from other organizations or entities? So today, we had a meeting with Tufts, for example. So and most people are on camera, but in general, sometimes you encounter consultants or other people, organizations where they're not maybe doing the same thing.
So I think just like I had told Deb that when I was making the PowerPoint for this, I was trying to fit my goofy stuff into the MGB template, and I couldn't. I did it. It looked awful. So I wanted to use my own. It's setting the expectations and figuring out what the purpose of the meeting is. If you guys all at Tufts, by the way, I'm a Tufts graduate, go Jumbos. If you want to have a business meeting, then it's a more serious tone, and you might make an ice melter that has something to do with the content of the meeting. So you might ask, what are you trying to accomplish from here? Give one word, and that way it just sets the tone for what the meeting is going to be. If it's a getting to know each other because we're going to be working together, then do some kind of an introduction so that people know who you are and what you're about. And you can do a word cloud, or you can do, if any of you are familiar with using the Mural app, where Deb and I had talked about using that to find out where everybody was from and where they are currently living. So it creates the commonalities, even for outside partners. It just really helps set the tone, because if you were in person, what would you be doing? You'd be shaking hands. You'd be saying, anybody want coffee? How about water? Oh, I like your sweater. I think I know somebody that you know. Whatever you would be doing, you would not just all enter the room and sit down and have a stiff meeting. That's just not the human interaction way. So you've got to try to mirror as much as we do in Zoom or in virtual meetings as we would in live meetings. It's not so easy, but unfortunately we have to get better at it. Does that help? Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
We're good.
Looks like we're good. Sandy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good rest of the afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.